ఆర్డర్ ఈ అయిపోయినాక వచ్చేసిందా? Good morning, ma'am. Good morning to everyone. I'm Mrs. Rukmini, ma'am. How are you? Hmm? I hope all are happy and healthy. Stay at the home and maintain your distance and enjoy with your parents and siblings. At the same time, you have to concentrate on your studies now. Okay, about our MOA2. Under this, I want to explain today on PPH, that is under Unit 8 abnormal labor. In that, we will today I will discuss about or I will explain about the PPH. Okay. So what is a PPH? So PPH is a condition in which excessive bleeding from the genital tract at any time following the baby's birth up to the 6 weeks after delivery. So hemorrhage may occur before, during or after delivery of the placenta. The average blood loss following vaginal delivery, cesarean delivery and cesarean hysterectomy is 500 ml, 1000 ml and 1500 ml respectively. So what is the definition for this? The PPH. The amount of blood loss in excess of 500 ml following birth of the baby according to WHO. According to that, any amount of bleeding from or into the genital tract following birth of the baby up to end of the puerperia. Postpartum hemorrhage has been defined as a 500 ml or more of blood loss after completion of the third stage of labor. So these are the definitions. So according to the instance, if we come to the incidence of our postpartum hemorrhage is the world's leading cause of maternal mortality, responsible for an estimated 1,27,000 deaths annually. The postpartum hemorrhage is the most common type of obstetric hemorrhage and accounts for the majority of the 14 million cases that occur each year. So the important cause of maternal mortality accounting for nearly one quarter of all maternal deaths worldwide. The India, the maternal mortality rate is 35 to 56%, 560 per 1 lakh live births. So PPH is generally defined as the blood loss greater than or equal to 500 ml within 24 hours after birth, while severe PPH is blood loss greater than or equal to 1000 ml within 24 hours. This is according to WHO. So when we will call it as a antepartum hemorrhage. The antepartum hemorrhage that may occur from the conception to up to the 22 weeks, that is fetal viability. And within 24 hours, if there is a bleeding, that we'll call it as a primary PPH. And after 24 hours till up to the 6 weeks, if there is a bleeding, that is called it as a secondary PPH. So the types is the primary PPH. It is otherwise called as immediate postpartum hemorrhage. Is defined as the excessive bleeding that occurs within the first 24 hours after delivery. About 70% of immediate PPH cases are due to uterine atony. The atony of the uterus is defined as the failure of the uterus to contract adequately after the child is born. The secondary PPH, it is the late postpartum hemorrhage, is defined as excessive bleeding occurring between 24 hours after delivery of the baby and 6 weeks postpartum. Most late PPH is due to the retained products of conception or the infection or both combined. This condition of postpartum hemorrhage causes hemorrhagic shock. So what are the etiological factors for the postpartum hemorrhage? So it has divided into 4 T's. 4 T's. That is, one is the tone, that is uterine atony. Second T is the tissue, that is retained placenta. Third T is the trauma, that may be the lacerations or uterine rupture. So trauma for the genital tract. And the fourth T is the clotting, that is any defects in coagulation. So that is coagulopathy. So first T, that is tone, abnormality of uterine contraction. So over distended uterus, uterine muscle exhaustion or uterine atony, it is a 90% of cases we can observe this uterine atony. Intrauterine amniotic infection or functional or atonic distortion of the uterus. Second one is the trauma. So trauma is the trauma for the genital tract. It may be to the cervix, vagina, perineal lacerations or any caesarean section laceration or uterine rupture and uterine inversion. And tissue retained products of the conception, the retained products abnormal placenta, placental previa or abruption placenta, blood clots and cotyledons. Fourth T is that is clotting, the thrombin, abnormality of coagulation, coagulopathy, therapeutic. So tone, so uterine atony. The most common and important cause of PPH is the uterine atony. So mostly the 75 to 90% of cases we'll see with the complaint of with the uterine atony only we'll see the PPH. So uterine atony can often be effectively managed with the uterine massage in conjunction with the administration of the uterotonics. So incomplete separation of placenta and uterine hyperdistension, macrosomia baby, multiple pregnancy, polyhydramnios, previous PPH, placenta previa, general anesthesia in inhalational agents like halothane, high parity and precipitate labor less than 1 hour, prolonged labor, active phase, loss more than 12 hours, fibroids, obesity. So these are all the causes for the atonic PPH. So tissue, the retained products of conception, most often a retained placenta or the retained placental fragments must be removed to stop the bleeding. Rarely an invasive placenta may be present. Hysterectomy is the most common treatment for this. So trauma. So trauma is 5 to 10% of cases will see the trauma. The trauma for the operative vaginal due to the vaginal delivery, that may be a vacuum or forceps, or perineal or vaginal under cervical tears, lower segment tears, uterine rupture, cesarean section, mediolateral episiotomy. So mediolateral episiotomy, trauma resulting from the birth process can result in significant blood loss. The sources of trauma must be quickly identified and treated. Thrombin, disseminated intravascular coagulation, that otherwise we will call it as a DIC, and placental abruption, pre-existing bleeding disorders like hemophilia, patient on anticoagulant, and fresh blood is usually the best treatment as this will contain the platelets and the coagulation factors 5 and 8, and fresh frozen plasma may also be infused. The secondary postpartum hemorrhage includes the retained bits of the cotyledons or membranes. It may be the infection, cervicovaginal lacerations, endometritis, subinvolution of the placental side, secondary hemorrhage from cesarean section, other rare causes, chorion epithelioma, carcinoma of cervix, placental polyp, fibroid polyp, and puerperal inversion of the uterus. Risk factors. Risk factors for postpartum hemorrhage. Prolonged third stage of labor, multiple delivery, episiotomy, fetal macrosomia, history of postpartum hemorrhage, grand multiparity, placenta previa, placental abruption, pregnancy-induced hypertension, infection. So what are the signs and symptoms for PPH? The vaginal bleeding is visible outside either as slow trickle or rarely a copious flow. Rarely the bleeding is concealed, either remaining inside the vaginal canal or in the surrounding tissue space resulting in hematoma. Enlarged uterus as it fills with blood or blood clot. It feels boggy on palpation, that is soft and distended, lacking tone. Symptoms. The symptoms massive blood loss, passing large clots, dizziness, lightheadedness or fatigue, decreased blood pressure, increased heart rate, swelling and pain in tissues in the vagina and perineal area. So, symptoms. So how the mother will looks with the PPH. The paler, the appearance is the paler due to the blood loss. Tachycardia will be there, hypotension, altered level of consciousness, restlessness, drowsiness, maternal collapse. Management. So how we can manage this PPH? So management of true PPH. Tone. So if there is atonic PPH is there, how we can manage this? So first of all, with the atonic PPH, how to rule out the cause for the PPH, whether it is a atonic or traumatic, or sometimes there may be a combined with the atonic and traumatic also. We can see some of the cases combined cause for the PPH. So first we have to rule out according to the cause. We have to correct the cause immediately as early as possible. So first we'll go through the tone. So uterine massage. First one, to cope up with the to make the tonicity, to improve the tonicity of the uterus, we have to go for the uterine massage. If the uterus is soft, massage is performed by placing one hand in the vagina and pushing against the body of the uterus, while the other hand compresses the fundus from above through the abdominal wall. The posterior aspect of the uterus is massaged with the abdominal hand and the anterior aspect with the vaginal hand. So this is the image of compression or giving the massage, uterine massage by manually. Another thing is the to improve the uterus tonicity, you can go for the drugs, that is uterotonic drugs agents. Uterotonic agents include oxytocin, ergot alkaloids, and prostaglandins. Oxytocin 10 international units should be injected intramuscularly, or 20 units in 1 liter of saline may be infused at a rate of 250 ml per hour. As much as 500 ml can be infused over 10 minutes without complications. So methyl ergonovin, that is methaxine and ergometrin, a typical dose of the methyl ergonovin 0.2 milligrams administered intramuscularly may be repeated as required at intervals of 2 to 4 hours. Prostaglandins. The prostaglandins, the carboprost, can be administered intramyometrially or the intramuscularly in a dose of 0.25 milligrams. This dose can be repeated every 15 minutes for a total dose of 2 milligrams. Misoprostol is another prostaglandin. It can be administered sublingually, orally, vaginally, and rectally. Doses range from 200 to 1000 micrograms. The dose recommended by FIGO is 1000 micrograms administered rectally. Trauma. Lacerations and hematomas resulting from birth trauma can cause significant blood loss that can be lessened by hemostasis and timely repair. Uterine rupture. Symptomatic uterine rupture requires the surgical repair of the defect or hysterectomy. Uterine inversion is a very rare cause. The FIGO recommendations prevention and treatment of PPH. The prevention. The prevention is the first one. First step is the active management of third stage of labor. Administration of uterotonic agents, that is oxytocin 10 units IM or misoprostol 600 micrograms orally if oxytocin is neither available nor feasible. Controlled contraction and uterine massage after delivery of the placenta as appropriate. If there is a PPH, the vaginal delivery more than 500 ml of blood loss, that we have to consider as a PPH, and if it is a cesarean delivery, that blood loss is more than 1 liter of the 1 liter or any volume of blood loss with the unstable woman. If ongoing bleeding, monitor the maternal status, airway, breathing and circulation, and IV access should be maintained, that is the fluid should be given bolus, The aim is to keep the blood pressure more than 100 by 50 mm of Hg. Oxytocin 20 to 40 international units per liter IV infusion has to be given, and give the blood products if available. And uterine massage has to be maintained throughout the process, and empty the bladder examination to determine the cause of bleeding. There may be a multiple causes. The management of third stage of labor. How we have to manage the third stage of labor. So if you manage proper way, in a correct manner, the third stage of labor, so we can most probably 99% we can control the PPH. So how we can manage this? The control the fundus, massage and make it hard. The injection method in 0.2 milligrams has given, but it is outdated. Nowadays it's not, they are not using this unless until there is a necessity. So instead of this, immediately after placental delivery, they are going to give the 10 units of oxytocin IM, and they are giving the misoprostol 600 micrograms. That 600 micrograms they are keeping in the rectum, and 200 micrograms they are keeping in the sublingual. So that is the present new protocol for the third stage management. And if placenta has separated, express the placenta out by controlled contraction. If placenta has not separated, manually how to remove under general anesthesia. There is a schematic. The scheme of management of true PPH has given in Datta textbook. If you refer that, they have given the complete picture. So if you go through that picture, they have given the immediate measures, how we have to take care of the case of a PPH. Call for extra help and commence the IV line with the two wide bore cannulas and set blood for cross matching and ask blood for 2 units and rapidly infuse the normal saline or hemaxil 2 liters till blood is available. Feel the to feel the uterus by abdominal palpation. If it is a uterine traumatic PPH, uterus is hard and contracted, but it is some trauma, there is a bleeding. So it indicates that there is a trauma in genital tract. So you have to explore that. Immediately you have to repair that. So you have to hemostatic suture on the tail sides. If it is atonic PPH, massage the uterus to make it hard, to add the oxytocin 10 to 20 units in 500 ml of normal saline at the rate of 40 drops per minute. Or injection detergent you can administer if needed, and to examine the expelled placenta, and you have to catheterize the bladder. If uterus still it is remains atonic, exploration of the uterus, blood transfusion has to be done to continue the oxytocin drip. Still it is atonic state, so you have to give the 15 methyl prostaglandins 250 micrograms IM or intramyometrial or the misoprostol 1000 micrograms per rectum. If still it is atonic, so uterine tamponades has to be used. So this is the schematic they have given. You can go through under the Datta textbook. And steps of manual removal of the placenta. If spontaneously the placenta has not come out, so we'll need normally the 15 to 30 minutes will give the time for the separation and expulsion of the placenta. So after 30 minutes also, if placenta has not comes out, so it indicates that it is a retained placenta. So for retained placenta, we have to go for the procedure, that is the manual removal of placenta. So there are some steps is there how to remove the placenta by manual. So step 1, the operation is done under the general anesthesia, have to be under deep sedation with 10 milligrams diazepam given intravenously. The patient is placed in lithotomy position with all aseptic measures. The bladder is catheterized. Step 2, one hand is introduced into the uterus after smearing with the antiseptic solution in cone shape manner following the cord which is made taut by the other hand. While introducing the labia are separated by the fingers of the other hand. The fingers of the uterine hand should locate the margin of the placenta. Step 3. Counter pressure on the uterus fundus is applied by the other hand placed over the abdomen. The abdominal hand should steady the fundus and guide the movements of the finger inside the uterine cavity till the placenta is completely separated. As soon as the placenta margin is reached, the fingers are insinuated between the placenta and the uterine wall with the back of the hand in contact with the uterine wall. The placenta is gradually separated with the ways slicing movements of the fingers until a whole of the placenta is separated. So the slicing is like this. So the back of the hand should be touches to the uterine wall. So by this, in between the uterine wall and the placenta, we are keeping our hand. By slicing manner, we are going to separate the placenta. Step 5. When the placenta is completely separated, it is extracted by traction of the cord by the other hand. The uterine hand is still inside the uterus for exploration of the cavity to be that nothing is left behind. Step 6. Intravenous methergine 0.2 milligrams is given and the uterine hand is gradually removed while massaging the uterus by the external hand to make it uh, hand. So after the completion of manual removal, inspection of the cervicovaginal canal is to be made to exclude any injury. Step 7. The placenta and membranes are inspected for completeness and be sure the uterus remains hard and contracted. So these are the diagrams you can observe. The first one, she is introducing the right hand along with the cord, and second one, she kept in between her hand in between the uterine wall and the placenta, and she is using the by slicing method she is going to separating the placenta. So in the third picture has given the completely separation of the placenta. The placenta is in her hand. Bimanual compression. Another method is for atomic PPH is the bimanual method. The whole hand is introduced into the vagina in case-shaped fashion. After separating the labia with the fingers of the other hand, the vaginal hand is clenched into a fist with the back of the hand directed posteriorly and the knuckles in the anterior fornix. The other hand is placed over the abdomen behind the uterus to make it anteverted. The uterus is firmly squeezed between the two hands, if necessary, to continue the compression for a prolonged period until the tone of the uterus is regained. So this is the schematic diagram. The diagrams they are showing that the bimanual compression. The right hand she make a fist and she is giving the compressions. So in between the two hands we have to give the full compression of the fundus of the uterus. The tight intrauterine. So another method. So if we have failed in massage or bimanual compression, so we can go for another method is the tight intrauterine packing. So the tight intrauterine packing done uniformly under general anesthesia. The procedure is a 5 meters long strip of gauze, 8 centimeters wide folded twice is required. The gauze should be soaked in antiseptic cream before introduction. The gauze is placed high up and packed into the fundal area first while the uterus is steadied by the external heart. Gradually, the rest of the cavity is packed so that no empty space is left behind. A separate pack is used to fill the vagina. An abdominal uterine contraction but exerts direct hemostatic pressure to the open uterine sinuses. Antibiotics should be given and the plug should be removed after 24 hours. Intrauterine packing is useful in a case of uncontrolled postpartum hemorrhage where other methods have failed and the patient is being prepared for transport to a tertiary care center. This is uterine packing. So how they are going to use the packing? So the first one they put tick. So that is the correct method of packing the uterine cavity. Another method is the balloon tamponade. So this is another method to control the PPH, that is the balloon tamponade. Tamponade using various types of hydrostatic balloon catheter has mostly replaced uterine packing. Mechanism of action is similar to uterine packing. Police catheter, Beckery balloon, condom catheter or Senstaken Blakemore tube is inserted into the uterine cavity and the balloon is inflated with a normal saline, that is 200 to 500 ml. It is successful in atonic PPH. This can avoid the hysterectomy in 78% of cases. So this is the uterine tamponade. How they are going to introducing the catheter and filling with the normal saline. And measuring of the blood loss. So how we are going to? So there is a one latest method has come, that the brass V drain. So this is the measurement equipment we can use during the delivery. So how much the blood loss? So they immediately after delivery on cord clamping, the blood measurement will begin. The calibrated delivery drape should be placed under the buttocks of the woman and tied around the woman's waist with the funnel portion hanging down between her legs. Blood loss will be measured for at least 1 hour, or if bleeding continues after 1 hour until active bleeding has stopped. This calibrated under buttocks drape folds out into a large sterile surface for delivery. The device allows for blood to be swept into a large calibrated pouch that indicates when the danger points have been reached. 500 ml is the official definition for a postpartum hemorrhage. So the obstetric drape comes in sterile packing and folds out to a 1 into 1 meter sterile area for a woman to give birth. At the bottom of the sterile area is a pouch that holds more than 2500 ml of fluid, allowing for accurate measurement of postpartum blood loss. The pouch itself also includes a flexible plastic filter to catch material that is not liquid. This version of the obstetric drape starts at 100 ml measurements of the postpartum blood loss for extremely accurate measurements for research and other purposes. Prophylactic SR PPH suction cannula application for high risk women for atonic PPH also is going to be used. These are the uterine vacuum retraction system and prophylactic application during vaginal deliveries. And surgical management. So if you fail for these steps, so they will go for the surgical management. So in that surgical management, one is the pelvic artery ligation, the uterine, ovarian, vaginal and internal iliac artery ligations. They are going to ligate the blood supply. Whatever the arteries is going to be supplying the blood for the uterus, those vessels is going to be ligated. So angiographic arterial embolization or the uterine artery embolization. So this is the embolization of an actively bleeding vessels. B-Lynch suture. So this is the another type of surgical method. B-Lynch sutures they were going to used the B-Lynch compression suture and multiple square sutures. Both these surgical methods work by tamponade, like bimanual compression of the uterus. The success rate is about 80% and it can be avoided the hysterectomy. So these are the sutures, other type of surgical methods. And hysterectomy, the ultimate. So if we fails all these procedures, so whatever we have discussed up to now, so if we fail, ultimately they will go for the hysterectomy, a surgical operation to remove all or part of the uterus in case of life threatening condition of the woman, that is the menorrhagia or postmenopausal period, most common surgical treatment done in India. So in the PPH, if they will uh, fail to control the PPH with the bimanual compression or massage or using heterotonic drugs or going for the tamponade or intrauterine packing or ligation. So ultimately they will go for the hysterectomy. So whichever part is affected, so according to that they will go for partial or total hysterectomy. This is the types of hysterectomy. Subtotal hysterectomy before and after. This is the techniques. And next, coming to the most foremost important point is the prevention. So PPH cannot always be prevented. However, the incidence and especially its magnitude can be reduced substantially by assessing the risk factors and following the guidelines as mentioned below. So antenatal. During the antenatal, improvement of the health status of the mother is very important. High risk patients, that means whoever is the twins, hydramnios, grand multi, APH, history of previous PPH, severe anemia, those risk group has to be recognized, how to identify and how to do the continuous follow up, and blood grouping has to be done, and placental localization has to be mentioned by using the USG or the MRI, and intranatal active management of the third stage. Mainly, active management of third stage is very important to prevent the PPH. The cases with induced or augmented labor by oxytocin, women delivered by cesarean section, exploration of the uterovaginal canal for evidence of trauma, and observation for about 2 hours after delivery to make sure that the uterus is hard and well contracted before sending women to ward, expert obstetric anesthetist, and during cesarean section, spontaneous separation and delivery of the placenta reduces the blood loss, and examination of the placenta is very important. Thank you. So this is about the PPH and its management. There is a small assignment for you people. So you have to write the assignment on nursing part. So nursing management for PPH. So you have to formulate the nursing diagnosis according to the priority of the mother, and you have to write the nursing detailed nursing care plan. At least you have to formulate the 10, more than 10 nursing diagnoses. Okay, thank you ma'am. Good luck.